Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the ELJ Editions Redacted Books Series, Be Well reading series. My name is Nicole Tallman, and I am the host for tonight's reading, and we are here to celebrate Poetry Month. So I have an amazing trio of readers for you tonight. We have Adrian Dallas Frandle, we have Alina Stefanescu, and we have Leah Umansky. And I'm going to ask each of our readers to read for about 15 minutes, and then we'll reserve a little bit of time at the end for questions and answers. So if you have any, feel free to drop those in the chat. If you're shy, I can read it for you, or if you want, you can ask the question yourself at the end. We'll see how people are feeling. So I'm just going to ask everyone, please, if you're not speaking, to mute yourself so that we can reduce background noise and really give our readers our full attention. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read each author's bio. We'll have Adrian, Alina, and Leah. And then again, like I said, we'll reserve some time at the end. So our first reader is my dear friend, Adrian Dallas Frandle. Adrian is a queer fish who writes to and for the world about its future. They are poetry acquisitions editor at Variant Lit. Book of Extraction, Poems with Teeth, is out now from Kith Books, and Adrian's work is published in various print and online journals. And you can read more about Adrian and their amazing work at adriandallas.com. Please give a round, warm of applause to my amazing friend, Adrian.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much. I love being here. Nicole is the best gatherer. She is a creator of these wonderful, queer, joyful spaces. So it's just so lovely to be here. And with Alina and Leah, what a dream and a joy to read with. And all of the folks, thank you so much for coming. Yeah. So I'm glad I got the first spot in a bit because I have sort of an appetizer ready. It's almost dinner time where we are. And the following piece recently came out in Honey Literary, the wonderful, selected by the wondrous Dorothy Chan, who I love so much. And this is in the food and beverage section. I wrote this around the time of the passing of Stephen Sondheim and some other heroes. And anyways, so this will be the appetizer to the main course of the reading later. Oh, and just I brought a prop because I didn't know how to syntactically indicate bullet points because it's in an essay format. So this will be a bullet, just so you know. Seemed appropriate because it's a spatula. So, okay. Queer canapé. I bubble forth with queer savorings. Faggy food thoughts and gossip, like recipes, need to be archived to be sampled in the future. Food, too, can become endangered. And like recipes, faggy food thoughts and gossip may provide instructions for how to create and recreate the delicious. Here are some morsels presented as canapé to the canon, or at least little bites for the individual to enjoy, and like queerness, like writing, like reading, they replenish, so you may always return to the tray, to the page, for seconds, for thirds, for beyond. Here are a few. You may pick and choose by what fancies you. Bullet. My gay husband once worked as a theater intern. It was during the touring days of the now late, but then famously salty musical comedy legend Elaine Stritch. Her husband was a successful English muffin magnate, so she would gift them to everyone, cast, crew, and friends. That is incidental to the main thread. My gay husband, the then intern, approached her towards the end of the night's run. Great show, he's supposed to have said, to which she replied, Who is that? He reminded her, the one who brings your yogurt. She is reported to have then paused and blurted out, Oh, the kind with the fruit on the bottom, before going back on stage and finishing her set. Gay husband says this is one of the most important jobs a young gay man can get. Transforming into a mineral is a personal choice. All those admirable pillar women turn toward something. They turn toward a light. When I worked as a line cook, the most important lesson I learned was to let someone know when you are behind them. Many of us feel more comfortable in the back of the house because that is where flavor originates, where the cooking happens. In the instructions for her famous hash brownies, Alice B. Toklas notes the eater can expect Euphoria and brilliant storms of laughter, ecstatic reveries, and extension of one's personality. Queer effects, queer recipe. The second most important lesson that I learned in the kitchen is that scars may be marks of pride, records of the queer times when something went wrong, but the teaching was taught and learning was wrought with the body. Each denial is a crisis of hunger, creating new lines of connection, new opportunity to try new confections. Comfort eating may be more than habit, but our wish to survive the world that feeds us. Our eyes exceed our stomach, how desire defies time. Like steam from the pot, it rises. All the food you can sub for lube also generally make good dairy replacements. Sex and baking share many of the same ingredients. A small pinch of cayenne or other chili awakens any dish, drags it into morning light. Capsaicin literally burns the taste receptors, a thrilling sensation. That is why spicy is the queerest of flavors. The heat is an opening, an invitation. Are you full yet? What will you do with your lack of hunger? Go feed others then, and be fed. Thank you. This next one is just also in the suite of appetizers offered. So this is how a drama queen hosts their midlife crisis, also in honey. M suggests open face sandwiches, anything deceptively lacking and yet somehow complete. I'll drink to that, Stritch would have said. She would have fed her crises English muffins. Famously, all the good ones are gone the way of Sondheim. He'd have fed his vexes a fine sherry wine or maybe a meat pie. Regardless, an erudite audience would love it. I feed mine meringues and trays on trays of mini raspberry soufflés all on the rise to remind them how delicious the moment of collapse can taste, despite all the labor, and that even in falling, there are wisps up grace to be taken in, imbibed, and utterly savored. All right. We will move from food, I guess, into a museum quickly. This is numismatics in the morning. The only thing to know, I guess, is that sometimes when I get depressed, I wander around the coin section of the museum because I guess I kind of am like that crow from Secret of Nim. So numismatics in the morning. Another museum, another poet, another token museum poem. Again, exquisite light, exquisitely framed, curated to fall at the foot of Apollo. Aquatic shimmer, again, illuminating the display plate. Another queer agog at something shiny. A Corvine attitude through and through. As a gay bird, I flit between exhibits, reading anything flashy for signs of life. Museums appear geared to produce this effect in patrons, aesthetically inclined to our collectivist avian attitudes. Beauty is manipulable and manipulating too. Its affinity for stolen light entraps every time I walk through that first sky-stained gallery. If I could take home one thing to keep, which one can never do, it would be the singular crossbeam of sun. The moment heaven is brought low and rays crucify the solar god's feet, to tuck instants like coins under wing, this time worth taking. Let's see. The next one, I'll just jump down, is called Emerald Echocardiogram, and this came out in the wonderful Alan Squire Pub, Alan Squire Pub, the Alan Squire Bulletin, yeah, Emerald Echocardiogram. Oh, the background on this one is my father had some heart issues, and we all had to go in to get checked. And I saw an image of my heart for the first time, sort of 3D image, and this resulted in that. Emerald echocardiogram. If the chance comes, I'll take one fewer vice in life. lungs smoked in relief and screen splayed, heart ghastly white, beating interdimensional, if seen through a cardiologist's eyes, a house, built along the border of two weathers. I might have wished to straddle that seam, brick stitch line, sewn purple. My joyous wraith would haunt this hill long after any house could contain it. No one even bothered to ask the body if it had needs of its own. No one thought to. The tissue at hand is now handled outside my skin. Around the backside of rain, I try to listen, but please don't speak unless I am in miniature doll form. There, I embed a coin in the garden and wait for an opening. The sky is still a paywall. My heart still grows green with debt. Right, let's do two more short ones. These are new, so let's just do the new ones. This one is called LED or LED, ambiguously. I'm obsessed with the streetlights around our house. They pixelate everything. So yeah, LED. We go outside and count street lamps, starry-eyed in their vivid pixelation. They cast cubed leaf shadows, jostling black, boxes on our cheeks. So plainly are we seen through their square eyes. It dons a hat. The shade walking a dog becomes less real as it distances itself in our vision. It's as if the dog walks itself, so dim it is. We watch as they turn the corner into the dark heart of our neighborhood, the invisible interior where no streetlights shine, just hushed buzz of jagged foliage brushed against the skin of night. You tug at my wrist like a leash. Lead me back inside. I don't want to disappear. And the last one is called Comma Tongue. I am have been researching punctuation a lot lately and writing and working on an essay on the comma. So this has been resulted in that, thinking through all the things that comma does that a tongue can do. So comma tongue. Knelling, parsing speech, the air rung when split, sound breaks in its waves, curls back upon it. My voice sprung from its tip, then stamped in air, parceled, coined in discursive currency, gilded, cleft like a snake's, stricken and cat-taken, locked between my lover's lips, bloodied when bitten, best held so as not to prove the fool, beheld as a guardian to the soul, my strip of flesh, slip of breath, slip of pen on page, a second's breath, the interval between one lifted note's little death, one's life, mine, and the next. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here. Love it.
Thank you so much, Adrian. That was so beautiful. Oh, and I love hearing new poems from you because it's always so fun. You write the best stuff and your topics are just so expansive. And thanks for bringing the spatula, you know, that added a, now I now have to start thinking about I need props when I read poems too. Oh my goodness. Okay, so up next is Alina. Alina Stefanescu was born in Romania and lives in Birmingham, Alabama with her partner and several intense mammals, not just regular, but intense. Recent books include a creative nonfiction chapbook, Ribald and Dor, and her debut fiction collection, Every Mask I Tried On. She serves as editor, reviewer, and critic for various journals and is currently working on a novel, Light Creature. Her new poetry collection will be published by Sarah Band in 2025, and you can find more online at alinastefanoskewriter.com. Please join me in welcoming the magical Alina Stefanescu.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And it was so awesome to hear what Adrian's working on. It's always exciting. There are some people's minds who are just even more, they collect even more than yours. And so I'm always excited to hear what's going on. I'm going to read some completely unpublished things today and just, I guess, go into that space. And this one is called Ovid Said Not to Look at the Source of It. And it's based on Ovid at one point said not to look at the source of desire. Like that's how to get over desire in his book on love. Basically, there's a whole section on how to avoid desire. And I have teenagers, so we had some interesting conversations about that. So Ovid said not to look at the source of it. No one is you to me. No one is mouth over mine like that. None can be eye holding eye like no bounds can matter. Immaterial that no me has ever recovered. I walked towards the street with fewest lights last night and sought the least lit spot to hide within. And no one is, and none can. Yet there was a sliver of an instant, an excess of swiftness when the white cloud poured itself into the naked expanse between a tree's empty branches. And the darkness behind the house did nothing. The dark did not resist the rifts filling. The dark did not move to reclaim the terrain it had lost. And the cloud occupied the opening I could not and could never have been in your arms years ago at LaGuardia. This is called, I'm always interested in the wives of philosophers. And this is called Portrait of Hegel's Wife in Treble. And it's in dialogue. The epigraph is this beautiful line by George Eliot from Middlemarch. And we should die of that roar, which lies on the other side of silence. I think silences are so beautiful, and imagining the other side of silence is just a tremendous poetic space for me. So Portrait of Hegel's Wife in Treble. Treble, not trouble. She watched him chase it across his violin, the furious bow swirling around the tune, the sound winding outside and then under it before returning to the known notation. The gentleman to her left spoke of migraines to the woman she had been when absorbed in the fiddler's melody. And when it ended, she excused herself and went outside alone to be eaten by stars and throttled by the meteor of the secret text she'd scribbled over her breasts in black eyeliner before the concert. The poem is the thing hidden beneath the dress. She watched him chase it back to the known. He found her taking off her shoes near the fountain, her forehead pressed against the symphony's statue, her lips opening an ellipsis of laughter. Am I audible? It's not breaking up? Okay, just making sure.
You sound great, Alina.
Okay, that's rare, so that makes me happy. This is from a whole book that never got published. I know we all have those, and I don't think we talk about them enough. We just sort of, sometimes they just get abandoned, and I decided to go look among my abandoned children and pick some poems. So this is from that. And this is an untitled poem. Little good happens for no reason. The unforeseen is the problematic, unscheduled subject. The first kiss between humans grew from a fumble, followed by a softening, swallowed by an awkward silence, imagining a sequel. Do you think the humans knew desire would ruin them? Nothing is fated except the explanation. Even an afterlife is the appendage to knowing this ends. Feathers first emerged as downy filaments to warm the flesh of certain reptiles. Blame the wings for how we use them. Blame the flight on the lure of the color between dusk and midnight. The wrong something might occur in any mind at any instant, and every bird is that gorgeous accident. I don't want to read anything too depressing. There's some really, it's funny. This is, so I don't know if anyone knows the perfume Magie Noir. It was really popular when I was growing up. It was, I don't even know who made it, but it had this little black top. And my mom was so excited when she bought it because they'd had it in Romania, or her mom had a bottle that they saved. And perfume smells really bad after a while when you save it. But after she died, I found her bottle of Magie Noir, and I would wear it when I was doing readings or when I was writing or when I was going to a physician's appointment that wasn't fun. It was sort of like a protective talisman. And I guess it means magic black. But yeah, so this is about, it's titled Magie Noir. Dinner passes in strange pasta shapes. I wear your Magie Noir like a password in a land where nobody speaks French. Your favorite perfume, the one you dispensed with a dropper, the rich runes of your elegance, filling a dress. What is bearable in your absence, outside the mystery of its grasp? My refusal to open a casket or glimpse the flesh, the coldness, that part I could touch in anyone except you. Only glaciers live with the memory of iced death forever. Everything happens in dreams and strange hotel rooms. I can't dispute how thirst deserts us, how longing distends the breath into a dunescape uninhabitable by mammals who aren't camels. A place without water teaches us how to love it, to be humbled. It is not the enormity of desert stars that dizzies me so much as the lush brutality of the local planetarium at the Children's Museum. I lose myself in its diminishment. The pixel points, the cartoon torches, the canned laughter of kids learning when to fake, to feel, to show wonder. Not the sky, Mom, but what we've made of it. The endless artifice. There is no second-hand stardust to save us. I tongue all these thoughts like the loose tooth I uncovered in a silk satchel buried in your panty drawer. The lost thing, the mother cherishing the childhood, the tang of dried blood in her little girl's mouth. I'm just going to read one with my my dog in it. I think this is the last one, right? Is that right?
You
with
have time. You have time. You have like 6-7 minutes left, whatever. Go ahead, Alina.
Okay, this is a little bit longer. So do you all know who Leo Strauss was? Okay, so he was influential to a lot of neoconservatives. He taught at the University of Chicago. And I've like been working on these series of, I've been with all kinds of different people in my life. And so like I have had my time with like the anarchists, my time with, well, this is about my time with the Straussians. And it's not for kids. The Esoteric Reading, a treatise for the Straussians who cannot recover themselves from the interpretive floor, or my time among the Straussians. My dog peed on the wall of Plato's cave as the sun rose to wave those meticulous rays this morning. Official feelings boomeranged through the room. My dog only knows the bureau in me is dead, But long live the ghost, who cannot stand on ceremony or its ceremonial degradation anymore. The elect may remember Leo's students were hosting a seance the day before I skinned my left knee completely in the sex accident and its concomitant sadness. There were no limits in the aforementioned incident, which occurred in the parking lot whose boundary began at the door of my apartment, when I libated textual secrets with the Straussians. My bed was the girl boss, shared with old books, who risked pissing me off. My head was the shelf's windshield wiper. Who said pleasure was a sort of paramnesia involving hips? Did I read it or write it? God only knows Thomas Bernhard knew that the limit of a border is a line. Thus did he walk his vertigo like a new famine through the forests of his empirical childhood. But he couldn't get past the skirts of his scorn, so he couldn't pass over the hem of the innermost bloodhound. God only knows each word is a sore and every adjective is implicated in the curettage, for which no noun is curative. Copulation is as close as I've come to expiation or the vibes in your presumption of universality. Some divine object drafted a world for words to romp in, as romp is a world for words to do whatever they want in. To be sure, esoteric readings were practiced on the fire escape as the symbolic bell tower chimed our primes and divided us from our penultimate aberrations. Who stood on convention, though, when I crossed the wood floor of your studio, with my palms shielding my ears, when my hands had 10 nails and a bracelet, and I did not want Bach to persuade me. I did not want to hear the extremity or be repeated in it. It's a really weird poem. You should always read poems aloud before sharing them. That one I should have read aloud, I think. So I'm going to end with one that is not new. It's called Marital Milestone, and the epigraph is Czesław Miłosz. He said, language must be handled with a certain sense of danger. And this is about when we woke up and our hens had been killed, and trying to hide it before the kids could see the enormous horror of whatever killed it happened. So, marital milestone. The first carcass is a marital milestone. 4 carcasses, to be exact. Feathers strewn across the lawn like after-party streamers. We suspect a fox. A neighbor describes a fox as what looks like a skinny dog, but moves like a slinky. We have no one to blame but ourselves. While he buries the remains in woods behind our house, I say we should have known better. I also tell him not to bury anything on the kids' secret path. They don't need a grim reminder. The kids find a feather among the autumn leaves that don't crunch. I thought he hid the carcasses, so the kids' giggles feel like backstory, like a lie between a husband and a wife. He wishes I wasn't so sensitive, a little less wifey. Isn't death a part of life? We study the animal kingdom, and I am bewildered by the excess geometry. There is a pyramid with some folks on top. Thank you all.
Wow, that was really something. I think you need an audiobook if you don't have one, because your voice is just so soothing. I could listen to you all night, just read your poems. No, you don't want to? Okay, well, I put that out in the universe, so it might happen.
I hate my voice. I don't
No,
even listen to messages. If there's a video
uh,
of this, I will not watch it because otherwise I ask for it to be taken down. I hate
Alina,
my
it's
voice.
magic. Your voice is beautiful.
I have
I,
a Susita thing. It's a Romanian. I hate my voice.
oh my God, I love it. Well, I don't know what you're hearing, but it's gorgeous. I'm serious. I don't say that to everyone. So I'm just being very serious when I tell you I would love to have you have an audiobook, but we'll just put it out there, okay, for your consideration. All right. And your weird poem was amazing as well. So I know you felt awkward reading it, but I was entranced. So just something to think about. Wow, you all are really good with time. Thank you for being so respectful of each other. Sometimes I have to cut people off, but you all are amazing, like respectfully amazing of each other. So thank you so much. Well, we have our final reader. I'm kind of sad about that because I'm really enjoying this time with you, but I'm very excited to welcome Leah Umansky, who is an educator, curator, ecologist, and writer in New York City. And she is the author of Tyrant, which is her brand new book, and two other full-length collections of poetry, The Barbarous Century and Domestic Uncertainties, and two chapbooks, Straight Away, The Emptied World, and the Mad Men-inspired Dawn Dreams and I Dream. Leah earned her MFA in poetry at Sarah Lawrence College and has curated and hosted the Couplet Reading Series in New York City since 2011. And she's taught workshops to writers of all ages in such places as the Poetry School, Hudson Valley Writers Center, and Memorial Sloan Kettering's Visible Ink program. And she can be found at leahumansky.com, at Lady_Bronte on Twitter/X or whatever we're calling it these days, and at Leah.Umansky on Instagram. Let's give a warm welcome to Leah. And one more thing I'm going to say, you guys, I'm sorry, I'm a little off my game today. I'm distracted. I'm going to drop links to everyone's books here in the chat. Okay. I just encourage you to support each other. I'm sorry I did not do that earlier, but I will do that now. So thank you, everyone, and welcome. The floor is yours, Leah. Big round of applause for Leah.
Thank you so much, Nicole. That's very kind. Having a U last name means you usually go last. I know, Donna, you know that feeling because you're a V, even worse than a U. Well, thank you so much. So this is my new book of Tyrant. It's technically out May 1st, but it's kind of out now. This is my first National Poetry Month reading with it, and I'm really excited, so thank you. All right, I'm going to start with the opening poem. Can everyone hear me okay? Good, okay, because my Wi-Fi is always weird in my apartment. Okay. 2 lives. Let's start with the child and use that darling as a device. A little chaos makes a good story. When it comes to tormented goodness, look around. On the F train, I saw a mother and her child lock eyes. The child pushed through the crowd, her mouth a harsh parallel, her eyes a controlled earthquake of dread, of fragmented haunting, of dense, hard, gray stone. Through the rush hour crowd she pushed, as in a solitary migration to her mother, to the door, in an orb of her own. But I couldn't hear her words. I only heard the mother, preening, leaning in, teaching her daughter to grasp her strength, to clench her fist, to rise against the spasm of silence. No one could hear the girl, but I saw her push. I saw her strive. Her silence wasn't learned or practiced, just fell upon, like so much in this life. The mother, riddled in grocery bags, errands, sweat, and homework, grabbed her daughter's delicate wrist. Her breath stood on her chin. Her eyes bore into her in nightmare. I felt the invisible line of pain forming around that wrist, like a system of star-like bruises, but there were no visible marks. She said, "Use your words, honey. You've got to use your words." And in that fog of must, I saw life outside of this one, a life where daughters don't need such lessons, a seemingly unbrutal future held up by all of us. Such lessons would fall away, an inescapable pattern of a life gone astray. If you weren't paying attention, you might have said villain, thief, tyrant, but the word truth teller came to my lips. The rage of that mother to get her daughter to speak, to get her daughter to speak loudly, to get her daughter to speak up like a boy or a man. Teach the girl what must become innate, and exile forever the faults of this world. Start with what the tyrant loves to throw, his words, his voice, his weight. Thank you. All right, it's really funny because I'm in the middle of a new manuscript now. We're really almost done with the new manuscript. But in picking poems for tonight's reading, I realized so many poems in this book are either prosy or in sections. So a lot of what I'm reading tonight's in sections. This is the title poem. It's called Of Tyrants. And there's an epigraph, which was a real fortune cookie. And the fortune cookie said, "We are made to persist. That is how we know who we are." And I put it on my desk and I wrote this poem. And this is the first of the tyrant poems in that series that I wrote. It's, I think, in seven parts. 1, I fetch the rage. 2, I fetch the rage in chaos, in the heel of this butchering, in the squeezing of the heart, listening or not to his word, to his garbage. It is all lies. I won't. 3, he is an open fire. 4, the anger unsettles the heart, turns to cowering, to foul, to flight, into air, into glass, blasts us all into slick, into sick, into darkness. 5, who needs loyalty when all is pounded into fatigue? I cannot reiterate this enough. The past isn't dead. Embrace these rough edges, the corrosive doors, the tipping of lies, the tangle of webs or thorns or tweets. I can't. 6, Jimmy Kimmel says, it is like someone has opened a window into hell. I can't sink this rage. It stills itself into flame. I can't watch the news anymore. I can barely stay positive. Not now, not now, not now. He can't make me say never. Never you mind. The rise to rage is not of fury, but of tyrants, of tyrants. 7, I will turn my gaze away from the flames. I will turn my gaze upward, skybound and wide. 8, gather your good appetite. Gather your filling of hate. I lied, there are 8 sections. So that's a pretty intense one. So yeah, this book is very dark and concerning, and it was very therapeutic for me in the early days of Trump. And unfortunately, but fortunately, it's still very therapeutic for me. This next poem is called Of Men. And why is it that everything is built for the hands of men? And why is so much of today islanding away from us? And where is the past when we need it? Where is the love? And where is the following of one joy to the next? And where are the consequences and repercussions? And where is the captive? And where is the blood? The other day, the tyrant said, hate has no place in our country, while naming the wrong city where the tragedy occurred. And I thought, is man no more than this? This fool, this folly, this fool, this laugh, this dance of absurdity, the foolery of men, and this world in the hands of men. Everything moves too fast, and it is hard to live, hard to insist on living directly, heart to head, heart to mouth, heart to hand to hand to hand, and hard to insist on the gut, its taste and reflection, and what is casual, and what is pleasure, and what is fleeting, and what stays behind, and what is the tempering and the patience, the politics, the grappling. We cringe in this world of men, and shouldn't. I listen and shouldn't. I be and shouldn't. I weather and shouldn't. I hush and shouldn't. I know and shouldn't. I wonder, declutter, sit, still, come, reveal, suggest, sit, still, stiller, still, no. This world of men, this world of men is merely a mention. Here, this room, this hand of my touch, take that tyranny back. The world of men, their hands and hearts and hands, built for touch. The world of men is measly. The world of men is mere mania, mere menace and menial and measurable, This world of men is merely menstrual, in rush, in flow, and don't they know it? See the handling clearer. This world is built for no one. This world reveals another, a gentler world, with gentler hands to hold the world of men. Bid the dishonest man mend himself, mend yourself, mend the world of men. I really love that poem. Thank you. It's a little bit of a tongue, what's that called? A tongue teaser? Tongue, I can't think what the word is.
Twister, tongue twister.
Twister, there you go. Thank you. I know I've taught all day. My brain is like shut. Okay. I think I'm gonna read one more for the book and then some new poems and then that's it. Okay. So this book has a lot of references to Shakespeare, which is really interesting. I really only teach 2 Shakespeare plays. I teach Midsummer Night's Dream in 8th grade, and I teach 12th Night in 10th grade. But I also love King Lear, and it's one of my favorite plays. And there's a lot of references to King Lear, and there's a big one in here. Alternate ending of The Tyrant. In an alternate ending of King Lear, written after Shakespeare's death, Cordelia dies in her father's arms, and then Lear is hanged. No rights are wronged, no savior is found. Wrong begets wrong. Betrayal begets betrayal. In an alternate ending of this life, the tyrant falls in a swift, a swoop, a spoon's width away from comedy. In this ending, the tyrant gradually falls to pieces. Circuits fail, edges crack, and hinges bust. The tyrant frails, his hands are already taken. In one hand lies all the evil deeds, and in the other, all the cries of the people, all the Americans, all of those people he tried to separate, nullify, all of those beautiful people he mined against one another, who he propped up with his puppetry, and from whom he mystified the truth. Those are the ones leading the fray. Lie by lie, layer by layer, the tyrant falls to the earth. And there is no burial song, no choir leading the audience in prayer. Death is death. It is a certainty. We all die. And here the tyrant is without his hands. And here he is now without his tongue, without his voice, and without his hearing. He falls and falls and falls. No one pities him, and no one cries. In this alternate ending, the need to feel fades. Victory triumphs, freedom triumphs, peace triumphs, love triumphs. In this alternate ending, his ashes become a stone, and the stone is buried in the dirt, captured in the dank and the dark, and in the damp of eternity. The tyrant is just that, a pebble beneath the surface, one we know is always there, always there, always. Thank you. All right, and I'm gonna read some new poems. So the new book I'm almost done with, but I plan to finish up once summer break is here. It cannot come fast enough. Right now, the working title is Ordinary Splendor, and it's very different from Of Tyrant. They're all poems of wonder and joy and love, and even like in terms of format, they're all over the page, and they're very different. So I'm gonna read. I might just do 2 short ones. We'll see. Okay. On Looking, and this is in 3 parts. 1, we're born to pay attention to our life, to see the folds, the knots, not just the starch line or crease of a day or an hour. 2, once I thought a bird was sleeping, floating in the reservoir, who wasn't sleeping at all, but gliding there beneath the surface, kicking, skimming, laundering ripples into the water's sheen. It was so pristine. And then I thought about the rippling of clouds, their tousling overhead, that beauty sitting there above me. 3, I marveled at the clouds on the plane home from Kansas City, the way they foamed over and over, sleeving the sky, sleeving the blue as we slipped through the sky. I looked at the clouds, through the clouds, and then around my seat, my aisle, at the people around me, their seat trays, their drinks, their window blinds. I thought, do the flight attendants ever get tired of the view? Do they ever get tired of the sky? Do they ever get tired of looking? How can anyone? Thank you. All right. I think I'll end on this one in case people want to ask questions. for everyone. This is called Quest for Light. A student has the hardback of a book I'm teaching, and I swoon over its cover. Then another asks if I buy books just to look at them, laughing. I am confused by her question. To look at them? Then I realize, yes, I do. After school, I'm still thinking about her question. As with anything, I like to cherish the things I love, and I think about that cherishing, how akin it is to light, to a quest. It is all a curious place. Did you know the live edge of a plant is the place the plant grows from? That is what teaching is like casting light on that edge, nurturing what will come or not come. Our lives are held in the little things. What is my Milky Way? It it is so many things, so much light floating through me. You know, so much sparkles if you notice. A new blue line on the lower loop of Central Park, the frost imprint of snow on the window, and last weekend, a rainbow hidden in the low line of sky above the trees. I cannot make promises. I can only try to, but I know what ordinary happiness is. I've been edging closer to its light all my life. It is a quest. There is always something new that can be said. There is always something new. Thank you.
Wow. All three of you just brought the fire tonight. So I am just so grateful to have shared this space with you. And don't see any questions in the chat. So if anyone does have one and would like to raise their hand, please feel free to. Otherwise, I'm going to ask a question because I'm a very inquisitive person and I always have questions. It's just my nature. So going once, going twice. You know, I'm kind of glad no one asked a question because there's something that's burning on my mind and I wanted to ask it. So I'm kind of a little bit of a craft nerd, as I think a lot of poets are. And I'd like to ask each of you how you approached putting your latest book together. And if there were any poems that you had in there that you took out, and why. I'm just curious. I love talking to people about how they put their books together. So I'll ask you first, Adrian, with Teeth, how did you approach compiling this? I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so my chapbook is Book of Extraction. So it's about teeth and the mouth and the body. My sort of medical cross to bear has been dental, the you know, whatever we euphemistically refer to as the bad dental gene side of the family, where my brothers have perfect teeth. I grind mine down to nubs and need them all replaced. Anyways, so like probably hundreds of hours sitting in the dentist chair helped me at least come with an overall formalizing idea, and had written many poems towards that, sort of out of situational need anyways. And then actually organizing them sort of came to me just throughout. While organizing, I realized that they sort of had a liturgical bent to them. I was raised sort of like, I went to an all-boys Catholic school. I was not raised Catholic, but I have been inflected by a lot of that. I have Catholic godparents. It's all very magical and exciting and confusing. But so I structured the book actually as a like liturgical service. So it starts with the procession and ends, you know, after sort of the Eucharist and all of that. So it sort of presented itself as I was doing it. But yes.
So were there any poems that you had in there that you took out at the end or no?
Yeah, there were, or that like came out that aren't in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, I have hundreds of tooth poems. So yeah, there was definitely stuff that's in there. I just stripped anything that wasn't like sort of to the narrative sort of arc that was being created by the service aspect of it. Yeah.
That makes sense. I like that you have hundreds of poems about teeth. So we just might need a second chapter.
So many. There was a whole series I was going to do on just like ekphrasticks of bad dentist waiting room art, because if you pay attention to like medical art, dentist or otherwise, it's wild and just so much can come from terrible and wild. Yeah.
I'm gonna send you a few photos of the art that's on the wall at the hospital. You're gonna love it. It's really moving. Alina, how about you? How did you approach putting your latest book together? Well, I mean, I know you have one coming out now in 2025 from Saraband. So I guess whichever one you want to talk to is fine. I like to hear people's approach to compiling books.
It's such a good question. And I would say there's several parts of the process. So one I'll have, and like I want to do it thematically. One I want to match voices. So I usually do like 7 different versions of the book and then send it out within the same year under various different versions and organizations, and then don't remember which one it was when it gets picked up, and then also get really bummed always when I discover which one gets picked up, because I am indecisive and I will fiddle with something as long as it is sitting in front of me. I can find another way to fiddle with it. So I'm not really good at accepting closure or a finished product. And with the book that is kind of about angels, I guess angelology, it's a dark book, the one that's coming out from Saraband. It's a sad book. I guess it's my pandemic book, and it's structured around what it means to be in a family, so the epigraphs kind of structured it. There were certain epigraphs that really drove that book, and I ended up dividing it into sections based on the epigraphs and just set aside the concerns about different voices and just went ahead with, or giving the reader a break between 4 different crazy angel poems. Crazy. And when I say angel, I mean like the line between demonology and angelology is very small. And that's what fascinated me. So I don't really have a good answer for that either, because we haven't done edits on it yet. And I hope that Saraband, I'm always grateful for editors with like a strong view and for lots of editing. I love being edited. It feels like a compliment to me when people come at my poem and they're like, here's all this stuff you could do. And I feel what you're trying, to me, it's another way of caring about it. So I have a feeling that things will change too.
Oh, that's fascinating. I always think that I'm a little strange because I'll have like 10 versions of a book. And I do the same thing. Like I'll send out different versions, and it's interesting to see what people, and titles too. Like I can't ever decide on what I want the title to be. So, yeah, I mean, you can arrange a book in so many different ways. It really is, there's really, I know that they're these, coming out with more and more books about how to put together a manuscript. And I mean, I do find them interesting to a certain degree, but also it's just, it's such a personal thing. I think that you can't be overly prescriptive with things like that. So I'm really looking forward to this new book. I'm so fascinated by angels and demonology and all of that. So I'm going to have to pre-order that. You don't have a link yet, right? A little too soon, probably. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out for it. How about you, Leah? How did you approach of Tyrant? Tell us everything.
So I usually have the title like as I'm writing the book. So I had the title from the beginning, and I was writing just all these tyrant poems. And I mean, most of the tyrants are, Trump without naming him, but not all of them are. The book's about like the many different tyrants in our lives. So I was writing this whole series of tyrant poems, and the title came from the Federalist Papers. Which I was tutoring like a kid in AP government like years ago, and really just on like his writing. Like I don't do anything with history. I hate history. And like I saw that phrase in like a PDF of what he was reading from the Federalist Papers, and I put a circle around it. I'm like, oh, isn't that interesting? And then I realized, like through reading this with him, that the Federalist Papers were to protect basically like the new Americans coming to the colonies from the king or from tyranny. So I was just like, oh, isn't that interesting? And that was like the early days of like Trump stuff. And so I started writing these poems. I actually finished all the edits on the book, I think in October, and there were definitely poems I cut, but I can't remember off the top of my head. there's one poem I added right before I went to print, which is this poem Stun that I wrote after October 7th. That was a tyrant poem, like the word tyrant's in it. And I was like, oh my God, Nancy, can we put this poem in? And she was like, yes. So I was really happy to have another tyrant poem and to kind of get some of that off my chest because it's been a difficult thing to write about. But going back to what Alina and Adrian were saying, there were so many versions of Tyrant, and it was a finalist in a bunch of places. And I kept getting feedback from different versions. And the one version I really, really loved was the one without any titles at all. So it just kind of read as this narrative. And Nancy loved that one too, but we ended up putting the titles back in, which I'm happy with, but it's just two very different things. But I kind of knew I wanted this crescendo of emotion. Like I really wanted the reader to kind of feel slapped in the face because everything is obviously very intense in the book. But then there's also these moments of reprieve. And so I kind of wanted that kind of up and down motion throughout the book. And if you were to read the book in its whole, I think you feel that. So there's a lot of hope in it and there's a lot of resistance in it, but there's also a lot of obviously darkness. So
fascinating. I think I read it through with the titles, but now I think I'm going to have to try it without to see which one I prefer. I wouldn't have thought to read them without titles. So that's really fascinating.
Thank you.
Well, I think we're about finished. I don't see any more questions. So I'll just say that we'll be back here the first Thursday in May. And we're going to be celebrating Asian heritage, Jewish American heritage, Asian American, Jewish American, and also mental health awareness. May has a lot of things going on. So we're going to have 3 fabulous readers I'll be announcing very soon. And I'm going to make sure to download this recording from the cloud so that you can share it with people who aren't here tonight. Okay. So again, I want to thank you all for being here. It's so great to share this space with people and community always. And I hope to see you all again in May or at another future reading. And I hope you all have a wonderful night and take care and be well. Thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you, Nicole.